Dive into the colorfully toxic world of lead paint, an invention that once splashed its way into homes with the promise of vibrant walls that could withstand the test of time, toddlers, and the occasional tomato sauce splatter. Back in the day, this was the go-to solution for anyone wanting to brighten up their living room or make their toys look more enticing. After all, what could possibly go wrong with adding a little lead to your life? As it turns out, quite a lot. Despite its picture-perfect facade, lead paint hid a sinister secret beneath its glossy exterior. This was no ordinary paint. It was a ticking time bomb of health hazards. Imagine throwing a house party where the guest of honor is toxic fumes. Not so inviting, right? Lead paint was like that uninvited guest who not only crashed the party but also decided to move in permanently, causing all sorts of havoc. The plot thickened when scientists discovered that lead was more than just a heavy metal band name. It was a neurotoxin that could cause everything from learning disabilities to behavioral problems. Kids, the most enthusiastic wall critics and occasional taste testers, were especially at risk. It's one thing to eat dirt, but dining on lead-infused paint chips? That's a hard no. As awareness spread, the public did a collective facepalm. Governments worldwide scrambled to ban this once-celebrated invention, leaving homes safer but a bit less shiny. The legacy of lead paint serves as a colorful reminder that sometimes innovation can leave a stain that's hard to remove. So, the next time you decide to redecorate, remember the tale of lead paint, a product that truly adds color to the phrase, "What were they thinking?" Ah, CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, the chemical equivalent of that friend who promises to revolutionize your life but ends up crashing your car into the environmental equivalent of a brick wall. Introduced with a fanfare worthy of a royal parade, CFCs were the toast of the town in refrigeration and aerosol sprays. They were like the cool kids on the block, chilling in our fridges and making our hairspray extra spritzy. What's not to love? Well, as it turns out, quite a bit. Imagine, if you will, Earth's ozone layer as a giant protective sunscreen, shielding us from the sun's UV rays. Along came CFCs, strutting their stuff, poking holes in our planetary parasol like it was Swiss cheese. Scientists were baffled, polar bears were sweating, and suddenly, getting a tan wasn't just about looking good for summer. It was about not getting fried to a crisp. The plot twist came when the world united in a rare moment of environmental kumbaya, signing the Montreal Protocol to phase out our frenemy CFCs. It was an international intervention on a global scale, proving that when it comes to saving the planet, we can indeed get our act together. So, as we bid adieu to our not-so-dear friend CFCs, let's raise our aerosol-free hairspray cans to the sky, metaphorically, of course, and remember the lesson learned. Just because it's cool and convenient doesn't mean it's not cooking up an ecological disaster. Here's to better choices in keeping our ozone layer more holeless and less Swiss cheese. Enter asbestos, the miracle material of the 20th century, ready to fireproof everything from your toaster to your entire office building. It was like that one friend who promises to make your life safer, only to reveal they've been lighting small fires in your living room to prove a point. Asbestos was hailed as the superhero of construction materials. Heat-resistant, strong, and with a penchant for making things less flammable than a wet sponge. But here's the twist. Asbestos had a darker side, more villain than hero. It turns out that breathing in asbestos fibers is about as safe as adopting a pet crocodile. It might look cool at first, but sooner or later it's going to bite. These tiny, invisible fibers decided to go on a rampage in people's lungs, causing all sorts of unsavory health issues, from scarring, asbestosis, to cancer. The world had a collective oh no moment when it realized that asbestos was less of a fireproofing miracle and more of a public health nightmare. It was like finding out your favorite superhero was actually the villain the whole time. Cue dramatic music and a slow-motion montage of removal efforts worldwide. In the end, the tale of asbestos serves as a cautionary whisper, don't breathe in too hard now, about the dangers of falling in love with a solution without fully understanding the consequences. As we wave goodbye to our fibrous foe, let's remember the importance of looking before we leap, especially when it comes to jumping on the bandwagon of the next miracle material. Plastic, the material that promised to change the world, and oh boy, did it ever. Picture this: a substance so versatile, it could be anything from your toothbrush to the keyboard you're angrily typing complaints on. Plastic was the ultimate chameleon, blending into every aspect of our lives with the stealth of a ninja and the persistence of a telemarketer. As we waded through waves of discarded bottles and packaging, the truth dawned on us. Plastic wasn't just a material, It was an uninvited, immortal guest at Earth's dinner party. And unlike vampires, it didn't need an invitation to come in. It was everywhere, from the highest mountain to the deepest ocean trench, throwing a never-ending party where the only guests were more pieces of plastic. The plot thickens as we realize that getting rid of plastic isn't as simple as ghosting a bad date. It requires a global cleanup effort, innovation, and a hefty dose of responsibility from everyone involved. So, as we navigate our way through this plastic jungle, let's aim for a future where plastic is seen not as a convenience, but as a choice we think twice about. Here's to hoping we can find our way back to a world where the only plastic invasion is in the board game aisle, and even then, let's keep it minimal. Payday Loans, the financial world's equivalent of a friend who offers you $100 to tide you over, only to demand your firstborn as interest. Picture this. It's the end of the month, your wallet's emptier than a politician's promises, and suddenly, like a knight in shining armor riding a neon sign, the Payday Loan store beckons. Here's the pitch. Short on cash? Rent due yesterday? No problem! Just sign here, and all your worries will vanish faster than your dietary resolve on a fast food run. And in that moment of desperation, it seems like a lifeline. But here's the kicker. This lifeline is more like quicksand, and the interest rates are so high they need oxygen masks. Before you know it, you're caught in a cycle of debt that's harder to escape than a conversation about your future at a family gathering. Paying off one loan leads to another, and suddenly, you're doing financial gymnastics just to keep up. It's like being in a relationship with a high-maintenance partner who demands extravagant gifts every other day. Governments and financial advisors have started to crack down on these predatory practices, offering lifelines to those caught in the payday loan undertow. The lesson here? If a financial solution seems too easy, it might just be setting you up for a fall that's going to hurt more than your pride when you realize you've been duped. So the next time you're tempted by the neon glow of a payday loan sign, remember, it's better to tighten your belt and keep your dignity and your finances intact. After all, true financial independence is about making smart choices, not quick fixes that turn into long-term headaches. Social media platforms. The digital equivalent of a high school reunion you can attend from the comfort of your own toilet. Initially designed to connect us, social media quickly became the world's favorite pastime, right up there with arguing over the color of a dress or whether that sound was Yanny or Laurel. Imagine a world where every meal is photogenic, every opinion is groundbreaking, and your worth is measured in likes, shares, and the elusive retweet. Social media promised a digital utopia, a place where your voice could be heard far and wide, from the depths of your mom's basement to the peaks of Mount Everest, Wi-Fi permitting. But here's the plot twist. With great power comes great responsibility, and with great connectivity comes, well, great anxiety. Instead of fostering understanding and kumbaya moments, we got echo chambers, the 24/7 highlight reel of everyone's perfect life, minus the meltdowns, and a place where your data is more exposed than a celebrity in a tabloid. The irony? The platforms designed to bring us closer have made us experts in comparison, turning us into digital islands, surrounded by waves of content we're desperately trying to keep up with. And privacy? That's now just a setting we pretend to understand, along with terms and conditions we agree to without a second thought. So, as we navigate the choppy waters of digital validation, let's remember to occasionally look up from our screens, breathe in some non-Wi-Fi air, and remind ourselves that behind every perfect selfie, there's probably a room in chaos just out of frame. Here's to finding balance in our digital diet and remembering that it's okay to eat a meal without Instagramming it first. And then there's the latest contender in the what could possibly go wrong. Olympics, autonomous weapons. Picture this. Weapons so smart, they make your smartphone look like a potato. They can decide who, when, and where to attack, all without human intervention. It's like giving a toddler the keys to a tank and saying, please play responsibly. The idea was a bit like inventing a chess-playing robot, only this robot decides it's bored of chess and would rather play a real-life version of Battleship. Proponents argued that autonomous weapons could reduce military casualties, making wars safer, if one could ever use safe and war in the same sentence without a heavy dose of irony. But here's where it gets dicey. The ethics. Handing life and death decisions to a machine has about as much public support as a skunk at a garden party. The fear? A dystopian future where Skynet is more than just a sci-fi cautionary tale, and humans find themselves in the unenviable position of arguing with a drone about whether they're a valid target. The global reaction has been a mix of fascination and horror, with debates raging over how to keep Pandora firmly in her box. It's a classic case of just because we can doesn't mean we should, with a side of, also, how do we make sure this thing doesn't accidentally start World War III? As we stand on the brink of potentially letting robots decide who gets a stay of execution, it's perhaps a good moment to pause and reflect. Maybe, just maybe, the future of warfare shouldn't be left to the devices that occasionally struggle to distinguish between a human and a particularly tall cactus. If you know other things, I'm waiting for your story in the comments. Subscribe to the channel and let me know if you want the next part. Bye.